Okay, thank you everyone. My apologies for being 4 minutes late. I advise the meeting is being streamed live to the internet. All those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings, you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I declare open the 25 August 2022 Ordinary Meeting of Council. Ask Councillor Wright to recite the prayer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. O God, grant that by the knowledge of thy will, all we may resolve shall work together for good, and we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Ivey, could I ask you to do the acknowledgement of country, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of this land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, past, present and emerging, of the Wiradjuri Nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal peoples from other nations who are present.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. CCL 22/198, leave of absence. I have a leave of absence request for Councillors Lewis Burns and Councillor Damien Mann. Could I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Showery, seconded by Councillor Goff. Any discussion or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 22/199, conflicts of interest. I'll start with Councillor Goff.
So, I declare a pecuniary non-significant interest in... Where is it? Sorry.
I think there was...
CCL 22/215, the lease of a cafe and cultural centre at Wellington Local Aboriginal Land Council, due to my two businesses being named as competition.
And I think there was also the one, Councillor...
the other one, in the...
CSC 2238.
38, as I'm in the partnership program with my business, and I'll leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. When those two items come up, obviously you'll take note of those. The next one I have was Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The CCL 22/220, the review of lot type and pricing relating to land in Keswick Estate. Look, I declare a pecuniary interest in that particular item. My finance broking business would potentially be financing the acquisition of some of those blocks of land by members of the public, and subsequently I would have a financial gain as a result, and I will leave the room when it comes to that particular item. Thank you.
Thank you. And you had one more, I think. Sorry. CCC 22/36.
CC2, thank you. CC2/CC.
CCC 22/36.
22/36, thank you. With regards to the release of Regan Park information, I just want to note that is a non-pecuniary less than significant interest, as I am a resident of Regan Park, although my property does not border the subject land that will be discussed today. Thank you.
So that was also the one on the community consultation rather than the release of that information, which was the CCC 22/36.
Yes.
So anyway, that'll be declared again when that item comes up. I've got Ms Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest in CCL 22/220 due to I may be looking at purchasing a block at Keswick Estate, and therefore will leave the room during that discussion.
Thank you, Ms Kumar. And Ms Bassingthwaighte.
I'd like to declare an interest in CCL 22/205. I have two children that play for St John's Junior Rugby League. It's a less than significant, as I am not a community member of this club.
That's a less than significant non-pecuniary.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, thank you, councillors. Next item. No other declarations, conflicts of interest in the meeting, councillors? No, thank you. Next item, CCL 22/200 is public forum. and we've got 4 speakers registered at this stage for public forum. And I'll go through those in the order I've got them here on the page. The rules for public forum I'll just outline again for everyone's awareness. You have 5 minutes to speak. At 4 minutes and 30 seconds I'll ding a bell here, and if you get to 5 minutes I'll ask you to stop speaking. There are the 4 registered speakers, so they will be given the priority, and then because we have 30 minutes allocated for public forum, there'll be time left at the end of those 4 speakers, so I then will invite anyone else that wants to come forward within our 30-minute time frame. The first speaker is Margaret McDonald. Margaret, if I could ask you to come forward to the microphone, please.
Mr Mayor, councillors, council staff and members of the public forum. My name is Margaret McDonald and I'm President of Dubbo Environment Group, and I want to talk about the Regan Park issue that's on the agenda tonight. At the Council Public Forum in January of this year, Dubbo Environment Group stated that they would roll out our 2021 petition again if nothing was done about Regan Park's public protection from development. Nothing has been done. The rescinded 2018 policy has not been reinstated. I do have those that motion of that policy, if councillors would like a copy of that. The private football club, which received $1 million of state money in October 2021, still has had no land allocated. A number of councillors have expressed great indignity over the rollout of the Save Regan Park petition campaign. It's not easy for a common resident to get council attention. When we restarted our campaign, we emailed every councillor in July. We received 3 replies from councillors. No rights of reply to the Mayor or Mr Walkham have appeared in our local papers. It's not because those rights of reply have not been written. It's because they were tendered to the papers, but unfortunately environmentalists are not paying clients. We have been told at the DRC community workshops about the river precincts will inform the final master plan. There were only 2 stakeholder groups at the first workshop, environmental and sporting. We have been told in local media by the Mayor that we need to go back to the beginning with a blank page for Regan Park. That, quote, "It would possibly be a waste of opportunity if we said the land is reserved for one purpose, whether that one purpose be sporting fields or environmental." Matthew Dickerson. My father was a sheep farmer. In his sheep yard he had a drafting race. The sheep were drafted into either of 2 yards, ewes into one, lambs into the other. The State Environment Report delivered last month by Tanya Plibersek is dire, especially for New South Wales. Last week, after the New South Wales flood review was returned, Premier Perrottet announced that there would be no new development upon a floodplain. Yet DRC is committed to a master plan process which will return the 2 options of environmental regeneration and rugby league fields for Regan Park as clearly as the drafting process which sent my father's lambs to market. Our independent workshop consultants did not deliver any expert advice about land management of a valuable floodplain, which Regan Park is. We were not given the option of netball courts, and no netball people were invited. We were not given the option of a golf driving range, and no golf people were invited. The only sport specifically listed was rugby league, and rugby league people were invited. The private entity National Rugby League has been given $1 billion of New South Wales funds to build their new stadium in Sydney. Now they are demanding another $8 million of taxpayer funds to host the 2002 Grand Final in New South Wales, or they'll take it to Queensland. Once a private business gets its foot in the door, they want more. There is only one way our present council can restore their community's trust and do the right thing for Regan Park. They need to ditch all of the new master plan strategies and return it to an open public parkland with environmental regeneration for all future Dubbo generations to come.
Thank you, Margaret. That's the 5 minutes up. Thank you. Okay, the next speaker we have at Public Forum is Jason Capuano, and he's talking in relation to CCL 22/212. Jason, if you'd like to come forward, please. And again, the same rules, 5 minutes. I'll ding the bell at 4 minutes 30. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Mr Mayor, councillors, council staff, g'day. My name's Jason. I'm from Stevens Group. We're the developer of various parcels of land in and around Dubbo, and own and operate the Western District Memorial Park in northern Dubbo, so have been in Dubbo for a long time. We have an application before council that is recommended for refusal that I came to talk to you about today. It's probably close to the 10th application that we've had before council over the past couple of years for various parts and stages of the development that is underway in Hawthorn Street, at Spitfire Drive and the RAF base as well. The Hawthorn Street precinct we bought in 2019. It's been developed over several stages, the first stage being a mobile service station and Carl's Junior food outlet that opened last month. The second stage was a childcare centre that opened last month and is operated by a local operator, and there's a 4,200 square metre bulky goods retail building that's currently under construction that will house Total Tools and a couple of furniture retailers that will open hopefully in November this year. It's a big precinct, it's master planned, it's in various lots, but it is a master planned bulky goods and retail precinct that has a construction investment value that we've spent and will spend before Christmas of about $20 million. And this final stage, this application is one of two applications to complete that precinct. It's for a Taco Bell restaurant that has a DA before council now that was lodged in January this year that's yet to be determined. And this pylon sign is ancillary to that application that provides the Taco Bell some representation and exposure to Cobra Street, being the main street in its frontage and vicinity, to help direct motorists and traffic into Hawthorn Street to access the business and the restaurant there. So the sign itself, despite what's in the report, we believe is a permitted use. We believe that it can be approved by council. And the implications of it not being approved are significant. So the Taco Bell itself will employ 90 people. It's another $2 million plus of investment construction activity within the next sort of 6 to 9 months in town. So it's not just about a sign, it has bigger implications. Taco Bell have made it very clear that they won't be proceeding in Dubbo with the pylon signs not approved. And we think it's reasonable to request that that business has signage representation on the main street like every other fast food building or restaurant in Dubbo and every other capital or regional town in New South Wales for that matter. So I believe that it can be supported. I believe that can be supported tonight. It's permitted, it's consistent with the zone objectives, it's permitted in the zone, and it's critical for the successful operations of that business. I circulated a CGI that shows what that sign will look like. I have some copies here if anyone would like to have a look at a hard copy that properly demonstrates how the sign fits in with its locality. The sign, the application was publicly exhibited and there were no public submissions. It's consistent with other pylon signs in the immediate area. We believe the master plan precinct and the nature that this lot was originally one entire lot and parcel. The technicality that it's been split up into 5 individual lots, we don't think prevents a pylon sign being on an adjoining lot because this business is set back from the main road. Like I said, it's critical to the operation and success of that business that it has some signage representation on Cobra Street. and we appreciate your time in deliberating and hopefully approving the pylon to proceed so that the jobs and the investment can continue to happen in Dubbo. I'll be here for any questions if you have any. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. The next speaker I have registered is Barbara Sutherland, speaking in relation to CCC 22/36. Barbara, if you'd like to come forward to the microphone. Thank you, Barbara.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to firstly speak to you about some newspaper articles when Regan Park was purchased by Council. From the Dubbo City News, 1st of the 7th, 2004, page 2, Council's $840,000 surprise purchase. The land will be, these are quotes, the land will be used as parkland or passive recreational purposes, Council's Director Corporate Development Mark Riley said. Spending $490,000, Council bought 60 hectares of land fronting the river. It then purchased part of the land's water irrigation licence from the previous owners for $350,000, giving Council 292 megalitres. The Daily Liberal, 2nd of the 7th, 2004, page 3. Our Parks and Gardens Division has done a plan for the area which will be an open space people can walk through. Think Centennial Park in Sydney. It will be landscaped and have bike tracks running through it, linking it to other recreational areas, the CBD and various parts of the city. This will give us a continuous belt of open space running from the intersection of Burke and Brisbane streets to the north, to the water treatment plant to the south. Close to $1 million, councillors, nearly 20 years ago, funded by the ratepayers of Dubbo. What is the dollar value of that land today? I do not know, but it is multi-million dollars over the past almost 20 years. Moving forward to our current council. Until the 11th of August 2022, this council was less than transparent on the St John's Junior football proposal. Councillor Josh Black's motion may clarify that. At this stage, the only information that the public are able to obtain can be found in the mayoral minute CCL 21/16A. And this is an email to Council from the proponents. The email highlighted the following: capital investment phase 1, 4 full-size playing fields, bulk earthwork, turf, supply and installation of irrigation system, lighting, 6 poles and mains connection, car park, access road, no sign of how many cars in the car park, toilets, change rooms and canteen. That's investment phase 1. Capital investment phase 2 and 3. A gymnasium and clubhouse, fully functional canteen, full amenities, change rooms and toilet, scoreboards. Field lighting, netball fields for training, cricket net for training. And then there's a note that no financial allocation for a perimeter facility fence that has been omitted from the information. So there's a perimeter fence around that public open space. So now we have a master planning process in place for a private football club who represents one section of the organised sporting community to the exclusion of all other sections of the organised sporting clubs, when we know the strategic documents predict a shortfall of sporting fields but an even greater shortfall of passive open space. The proposal of this private sporting club is to the detriment of the whole community. How can it be in the public interest to gift initially 10 hectares of our multi-million-dollar public passive open space to a private sporting club? Do you intend to gift the water licence too? The rescinded Regan Park Master Plan was to reinstate fully structured woodland on the alluvial floodplain and initiate an intergenerational approach to habitat restoration, a vision for our region. Councillors, the North and South Precinct should designate the remaining undeveloped floodplain as public parkland for environmental restoration. This floodplain is precious for future generations.
Thank you, Barb. I just ask the community members to refrain from clapping there. It's something that we want everyone in the audience to stay quiet, and it's a process that we have, so we respect the quietness of the audience there. Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Dominic Tickle, and I believe Dominic's coming in via Teams, and it looks like Dominic's there. So, Dominic, I'm not sure if you caught earlier, but you've got 5 minutes to make a presentation. At 4 minutes 30, I'll ding a bell, and then at 5 minutes, I'll ask you to finish. Thank you, Dominic. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to brief Council. I want to start by recognising that I come today from the land of the Wagga people as part of the Durham lands, and I pay respects to Aboriginal leaders past, present and emerging, and to their elders past. I also want to recognise the support from the Council for Dubbo PCYC for over 52 years. I think in the last few years in particular, working with the PD, we've done some amazing work with the young people, particularly on Friday nights, and our Fit to Life program has certainly had some fairly significant impacts, not only on the benefits of young people, but certainly reduction in youth crime and youth interaction overall. We've also had very strong success in getting young people jobs there as part of our Fit for Work program. Tonight, we really want to just make representation to support the reduction of the costs into the new facility that we were to pay the council. Just to note that money will go directly into the building of that facility. We won't be sort of, for our perspective, as the people that are responsible for that project, looking at taking any of that anywhere else but putting it into the facility itself. So if we can get any respite at all, you know that it will stay in Dubbo. It's not going to anywhere part of the wider PCYC group. And indeed, as the project has started to evolve, that relief will certainly derive direct benefit to the community of Wagga both now and into the future. And to be fair, given the knowledge of the Council of PCYC, I don't really have much more to add at this point in time.
Rightio. Thank you, Dominic. Appreciate your time. So we've now got extra time left in public forum. So if anyone else in the audience would like to come forward and speak, all I'd ask you to do is come forward, state your name, state the agenda item you'd like to speak on, and then you can have your 5 minutes there to speak as well. Certainly. Just come forward, please, and state your name and then the agenda item, Mr. Duggan, and away you go.
Peter Duggan, not addressing an actual agenda item, just addressing Regan Park in general. That might be acceptable. Dear Mr Mayor and councillors, thank you for your services to the community in your roles so far this year. It's been great. I was also wanting to address council on Regan Park. I'm hoping to take a bit of the vitriol out of all the discussion. In being an architect, I'm well familiar with briefs and proposals and master plans and how they can, gradually change or quickly change over time compared to the original intentions. Given that council over the past few months has observed the deep concern by the community regarding the current master plan process, could council not so easily ask the consultants to amend any design options that they are about to release to only include environmental restoration and passive recreational activities at both Regan Park and at the police paddocks? Your brief to the clients doesn't just have to be to fill in a blank slate. You could even just ring them up tomorrow and change it. Also, given that there is a proposal, well, there's a DA at the moment for the Dubbo Sports Hub, which indicates that there's to be 4 football fields at the Sports Hub. In light of that, couldn't council enter into discussions with the local football clubs about the use of those fields instead of at Regan Park or at the police paddock? The cards for 4 to 8 football fields at Regan Park are still on the table, and all that we as a community are asking is that those cards be shifted to another table so as to leave Regan Park to become the fantastic community and environmental space it was originally proposed to be, and that will surely it will become. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duggan. That still leaves us with a few minutes left for anyone in the audience. So if anyone else would like to come forward and speak at a public forum, then this is your opportunity. And thank you. Again, state your name and which item on the agenda you'd like to speak about.
Yes, my name is Jill Cross-Anthony. You may recall that I was an activist to save Dubbo Sandy Beach, and that was a very successful program. And so we did save the beach and save that, and we didn't have that big concrete bridge going over there and spoiling our environment. So once again, I'm on the bandwagon supporting the people here who want to keep Regan Park as passive green space for the community and for future generations. I was interested to read that article that Barbara referred to about this green belt and how that was to be like Centennial Park. What interests me about that particular thing, it says that the Dubbo Council had developed a plan. Now I'm wondering, where is that plan? You know, we've had the 2015 plan, we've got the Salada 4 who are doing another plan. I'd like to know where this plan is, where it's supposed to look like Centennial Park. Why isn't that on the table? That people would have been paid a lot of money to work on that plan and develop something. That's ratepayers' money, and I think we have the right to know. Also, I want to let you know that I've created a Facebook page, and it's called Save Dubbo Green Space. To date, we have 160 people who have actually signed that petition, online petition, which is under change.org. And I think we need to all band together to try and save this place for future generations. It's not just for us old people, most of us here are old, it's for future generations, not you. But we need to think about future generations and keeping this place for us in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And that still leaves us with 6 minutes left in public forum. If anyone else would like to come forward.
Entirely unscripted.
Thanks. Just start with the name and the agenda item, please.
Thank you. To speak to the Regan Park matter. Elsie Howe. I arrived as a £10 POM in Dubbo in 1966. You wouldn't believe the difference from a 15,000 town back then, when nobody thought of getting down to the riverbank, and if you did, you were only fishermen or drunk, or both. You couldn't even get to the riverbank for thistles, pastoral plants. It was a no man's land. Bligh Street didn't even exist. Council chambers are where Riverdale was. You'd stagger down the back and get nowhere. I was more than happy to join Dubbo Field Naturalism Conservation Society in 1977 when it was started by a then member, John Mason, and Dr. David Hamill, who was a specialist in town. We celebrate our 45th anniversary this very month from founding, from the initial meeting at the Red Cross Rooms in Windewarra Street. Our patron, Terry Corn, who's a long-time member of the Dubbo community, is coming up to Dubbo to celebrate with us next month. He was responsible for Dubbo Region and Natural History, putting a series of talks together. We have since, about to go into our third edition of Plants and Animals of the Dubbo Region. Dubbo City Council at the time really didn't want to know about anything environmental. It was sport, sport, sport. until they were precipitated into about 1993 to having, by New South Wales Government legislation, produced the State of the Environment report. Guess what? They're only too happy to quote Dubbo Field Naturalist and Conservation Society in that, for all the records we had been accumulating on a monthly basis with field trips, speakers, and you name it, we've had it. There is an absolute mine of gorgeous stuff in our region that needs conserving, replacing, supporting. The other side of the world, bird watching, going out to look for the special plants of the world, is just enormous and has been for years. To try and get a bird watching route going here took an awful lot of hard work by one of our members, Janice Hosking, who was just laughed at tourist information meetings. Guess what? Everybody really has to have a bird routes these days. So we are sitting on the equivalent of the tank stream here, and wouldn't we just love to have the tank stream in Sydney? Think about it. I come from a part of the world where we do think things in centuries, and it was a mind-boggling leap of changing life to think about the built environment and the nurtured environment, to have to produce trees that everybody goes to see the other side of the world because they are 1,000 years old or more. We mightn't make that immediately, but we've got a fighting chance here and now, and only now. We can have our sports fields anywhere within reason, but we need to start changing our attitude towards the environment, and we've certainly had it brought smartly to our attention during COVID, how important that ability to get out into the natural world and really start seeing what's out there, because most people just haven't been, which is just heartbreaking for people coming from the outside to see what is being destroyed through ignorance, unfortunately. So locally, I suggest every member of council should get their faces stuck into this, and we'd be more than happy to see anybody come along to a field naturalist meeting. We have field trips quite twice a month. We just had a gorgeous Sunday out in the Goonoo, which for most people in the past had just been for taking your cars out and burning them, or burning straight through on the way to Coonabarabran. Get out there and enjoy your natural environment and save Regan Park and the whole of that riverbank environment right the way through. Now we've got the one and only chance to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Howe. That now brings us to the end of public forum. So thank you, the public speakers, the speakers coming along. I always appreciate when people come along and put their views forward. Next item on the agenda is CCL 22/201, confirmation of minutes. Can I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Second that. Thank you, Councillor Goff. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/202, mayoral appointments and meetings. Have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can see you working so hard, like 7 days a week. On 27th of July, you attended a meeting with regional cities LSW. I know there is a 16 regional councils come together. If you can give a little bit of update to the community, if there is any update, like an outcome from that meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Regional Cities New South Wales really is the second iteration of what used to be called EVO cities. There used to be 7 cities that used to gather together and pool some resources together. That's grown now to regional cities, which, as you correctly said, is now 16 cities across the state, going up to the top of the state, right down to, say, Wagga and Albury at the bottom. And we meet on a regular basis to see what things we can bring forward and basically look to make some changes there. So there's a few things there. That particular meeting where the Deputy Premier came along, Paul Toole, and gave some updates on just some of the funding opportunities that are out there. Talked a little bit about some of the biodiversity offsets, which is a big issue for councils, and basically a good opportunity to discuss various issues with the Deputy Premier. We also had, not at the same time, I hasten to add, after the Deputy Premier's meeting, the Leader of the Opposition, Chris Minns, came along to outline, if they're successful in the election in March next year, what they would have on offer for regional cities, and talking very high-level things. I suppose the main thing that we're seeing at the moment is just some collaboration work around trying to bring skills to regional areas. And that's an allocation that we were able to achieve through that particular group of $2.5 million in the last state budget that was released about 2 months ago, and we're working with the state government at the moment to basically formulate a plan where regional cities will be the lead carriage group in trying to get those skills out of Sydney, probably a little bit out of Newcastle and Wollongong as well, and bring them out to the regional cities. And that's a body of work that's still being done at the moment. We're still finessing that to get the model right, but I think that'll have huge benefits for places like Dubbo if we can start to drag some of that talent out, because it is still a major issue in regional cities, in Dubbo in particular, where we just have every employer out there asking for more employees, so we want to be able to attract some of those. So it's a good collaboration, and I think something that we'll see more and more things coming in the future, because the Deputy Premier said it when he met with us. It makes it easier for the state government to meet with one group where all 16 are there if we've got some common purpose, rather than trying to find the time to meet with 16 individual councils. And again, there's different things we want, but if there are things with common purpose, then that makes sense. So thank you for the question, Councillor Shadry. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further? Councillor Ivey.
Yes, Mr Mayor, perhaps on a lighter note, I'd just like you to explain to the meeting, please, on Saturday the 23rd of July, you attended a lie detector shooting event at Wellington. Stand on that.
There is a shooting range out near Wellington, as you may well know, which is in its last gasps of existence, and they've got a new shooting range that's being built. And the lie detector refers to the way you typically shoot at that particular shooting range, laying on the ground, so you're lying down. So I was intrigued as well. I thought I was going to be hooked up to a lie detector while I shot a gun, but that didn't happen. And they let me actually sit down rather than actually lie down that particular one. So it was quite interesting to go out, meet with a group that's out there in the community, and they basically talked about their processes, their meetings, when they hold meets, when people travel from various places to actually have those particular meetings. And with their new shooting facility, I think they'll attract more people. But even on that day, it wasn't a competition day, but there already were people that had attended from hundreds of kilometres away. There was one person there from Glen Innes, for example, who'd come, stayed overnight in Wellington, came out to the shoot in the morning, and then was going to travel back. So a good facility. Whether people are into shooting or not, that's an individual choice, but it still attracts people to Wellington. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Wells, did I see you? No, okay, thank you. Any further questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Next item on the agenda is CCL 22/203, naming Victoria Park No. 1 Oval in honour of the late Anthony George Kelly petition. So this is just in relation to the petition, not actually going forward with actually making a decision about the naming of anything there. So can I have someone move that particular motion or recommendation, please, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate, councillors? No, and I'll just, again, for the public perspective, this isn't making any decision about naming any facility, naming a scoreboard, naming the oval, anything at all about after Tony Kelly. This is just specifically about a petition that's been lodged in relation to that. So being no discussion or debate, councillors, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 22/204, report of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the report of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting held on August 11, 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Have someone second that, please. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any discussion or debate from that particular committee meeting, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. The next item is CCL 22/205, report of the Culture and Community Committee. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have the amendment.
Just the committee meeting, save and accept first of all. So you just need to move the committee meeting and then save and accept CCC 22/36.
So I move the report of the Culture and Community Committee meeting, CCL 22/25, and save and accept
CCC 22/36.
36.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. So that's moving all of the components of that committee meeting except for CCC 22/36. Have someone second that, first of all, Councillor Wright? Someone second that, please. Councillor Chowdhury, thank you. Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, firstly, I just needed to disclose a conflict of interest, potentially.
Not yet, because the save and accept you'll do that on. So
Thank you.
that's remove that component from the rest of the committee meeting.
Sure. and our motion to potentially adjust that we would do thereafter. This is
Correct, that's right, yes. Thank you. So in the rest of the components in the Culture and Community Committee, any discussion or debate on anything in there removing the 22/36 item? Any discussion or debate on the rest of that committee? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Now, Councillor Goff, if you could move CCC 22/36, please.
I move CCC 22/36, which will be dealt with separately.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. And have someone second that, please. Councillor Chowdhury. So, Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that motion first of all?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now, Councillor Wright, now you would... Sorry, I should have asked before I asked you about speaking to that, Councillor Goff. Now, Councillor Wright, you'd like to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I would like to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in regards to CCC 22/36. I am a resident of Regan Park, although my property does not border the subject land being referred to here, and subsequently I'd like to stay in the room for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. So we have that... sorry, thank you, Mr CEO. Ms Bathingwaite.
Yeah, I also like to declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in the matter of Regan Park due to my children play rugby league for Dubbo Junior Rugby League, but I am not a committee member.
Thank you, Ms Bathingwaite. Okay, so now, Councillor Wright, this would, if you had an amendment that you want to move, this would be now when you'd move that amendment.
Sure, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I would like to move an alternative motion here, or an amendment to the motion. I apologise. And that amendment just simply be that the Macquarie River Master Plan North and South Precinct progress report provided by Manager Recreation and Open Space be noted. And that would be all.
And so, Councillor Wright, that would replace completely the existing motion that's in there from the committee meeting and replace it with that amendment you've put there.
Correct.
Right, okay, thank you. So that's the amendment. Can I have someone second that amendment, please? Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Now, Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yeah, I would. Look, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, obviously, there's been a lot of conversation and a lot of community angst with respect to Regan Park and the current process. As a nearby resident and certainly as a citizen of the city, I too am very interested in to see the final outcome of the consultation and the community input into such a development. It's a significant parcel of land, as we've heard. We're talking, about 60 hectares of land there. It's quite a significant parcel of land. So, look, this process itself has been going on for many, many years, as we've heard. This council was voted in on the back of trust and change to bring forward some new ideas and a new way of dealing with different ideas with the council, and that was displayed at a motion that was put forward at one of our first meetings, looking to revisit the master plan as it is. There's obviously been a lot of conjecture with respect to the St John's Rugby League Football Club that have been granted a significant amount of money by the state government to construct some football fields wherever they may be, whether they be in Regan Park or otherwise. And my understanding is Salad 4D, who are doing some work at the moment, and more landscaping, are also working. They've had an initial consultation with the community and certainly invited sporting and environmental groups, and there'll be some further consultation with other parts of the community as well, who can also contribute towards that particular plan and hopefully come up with something that meets all of the needs of the community, not just potentially a small part of the community, as the community seems to be up in arms about at the moment. Now, I like to think that this council is acting with a high level of integrity and honesty with respect to this. There is a process. My understanding is that we're very close to having some sort of draft plan coming out from those two contractors within the next month to 6 weeks. The community will have a fantastic opportunity to mould and change and provide their feedback there, and as a result, this council's role then is to push and change and try and help the community adopt that sort of plan for something that the community would be very, very proud of. I noticed there was a conversation, or I made mention of thistles and overgrown grass on that riverbank many, many years ago, and we have a jewel in our crown along that riverbank now, which the community can use for recreation, sporting, and environmental purposes. So, and I'd like to think a new master plan will also provide that. So, my take on this is that we ask the community to be patient as we are, as councillors. We understand there's a process, and certainly a lot of the information being spread around the community is creating a lot of community angst. And I hope that when this draft plan comes out in the not too distant future, a lot of that angst will be relieved, and all members of the public will have an opportunity to see that this council is acting with a high level of integrity and following all the governance that is required, that we all signed up for not more than about 8 or 9 months ago. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other speakers? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will follow on from Councillor Wright's comments and perhaps address the public, because there were a lot of comments made that probably are representative of the feelings of the broader community. There's no doubt about it that Regan Park area is unique. It is fantastic. It has so much going for it. It's worth to the community much more than it was ever worth in 2004, for sure. You know, the society has moved on, the community has moved on since then. There's a much bigger awareness of the need for environmental considerations to be taken into account. There is a need for much better, more professional decision-making to be made in relation to that area. We've got an area there that is unique. It is absolutely incumbent on this council to make the right decision. We must make a decision that is right for the next 100 years. And so, as Councillor Wright said, please be patient with us. We are aware of the issues. We know what the issues are. We are just so absolutely committed to making sure that we make the right decision. And I can tell you, for one, I have never spoken to anyone from St John's Rugby League about this issue. I don't know what went on before. I don't care what went on before. All I know is that we have got the opportunity as this council to make objective, professional, sensible, unbiased, uninfluenced decisions for the best purposes that area can be put to for our Dubbo regional community. And rest assured that that is the approach that I, and I'm sure most of the other councillors around here, will be adopting in making the decision as to what will happen with that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Goff, then Councillor Black. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to second what Councillor Ivey said. Believe it or not, I've never spoken to anyone from St John's. I've also never been to Regent Park. So what I don't like is people questioning our integrity when there's a process. Move on, move forward. What happened last year happened last year. We're a new bunch of councillors. Let the process happen. Yes, I agreed to Josh's amendment 2 weeks ago. But, yeah, I'm really starting to question if that's just a waste of time because you're just targeting one group of people. Let the process happen. And you tell me to read a book, I don't have time. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will just speak as to why I'm not supporting Councillor Wright's amendment and why I support the original motion as moved previously. No one's integrity is being questioned through this whole process, councillor-wise. It's a natural reaction from what has happened previously to do with the almost giving in principle support to give away who knows how many acres of Regan Park. We saw a proposal in the Merrill Minute a year and a half ago to 4 football fields. Now we're reading on the front of the Dubbo Photo News a couple of weeks ago. That's suddenly ballooned out to 8 football fields. This motion, if we pass Councillor Wright's motion and knock off the previous motion, then that will not help transparency. We can't claim to be an open and transparent council if we're going to hide things behind a veil of just trust us. As elected officials, we are an arm of government, we're local government. Australians always question different levels of government, whether that be state, federal or local. We shouldn't be offended by people due to previous happenings in the previous council, questioning the process and saying we want more transparency around this issue. For people to get offended and say that we don't want the transparency, don't question my integrity, it'd be like a sailor saying that they don't like the sea. I saw a quote on Facebook during the week. I'll have to acknowledge that. But basically, we haven't seen any plans. We really should see some plans. The process is ongoing. I'm assuming that St John's Junior Rugby League Football Club are going to be part of that process. If they are, given that they've got $1 million sitting there and have previously expressed a couple of weeks ago that they are still interested in obtaining some of the Regan Park land, then I think that to ease the fears of the whole community, all the dealings of council should be put out there and say, right, well, this is what's happened so far, this is where we're up to, this is where the process is. I don't see how people could complain about that. And I talk about a petition. I did see from the previous Dubbo Mayor, Stephen Lawrence QC, he's drafted up some ideas on a petition I saw on Facebook. Somewhat amusing. I certainly got a little chuckle out of it. Something like this might be more palatable to people. And it reads like this. Do you support council giving free land to a private club to build 8 rugby league fields by the river in Regan Park, even though this is contrary to the community consultation and the Regan Park master plan? Or would you prefer this area is kept for the whole community and suitable land found elsewhere for playing fields to ensure such facilities are equitably spread around Dubbo? Please sign below if you support the gifting of the land. He's a very amusing man, the former mayor, and basically, with the previous motion, it would be knocked off by Councillor Wright's amendment. We could ease the fears of a lot of the community and say, this is where everything's up to with regards to the proposal, and I don't think anyone could complain about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further? Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm supporting Councillor Black's discussion that she just put forward there. I feel, look, it's a good debate, and it's always a great opportunity for us to have a really good, respectful debate, and that's where it needs to lie. In my view, community perception has to be taken on face value, that people have these fears and concerns around what they've seen in newspapers and previous council motions. So my support to community around the initial amended motion remains.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to support Councillor Wright notice of motion because I believe there is a process happening and we should respect that process and also respect the community concern. I believe if you have a concern, put it through the consultation process, then you will see what outcome will come. And I'll request everyone, put your comments and talk to the consultative groups, and then you'll see what outcome will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Etheridge.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I still support the original amendment for the simple fact it adds another layer of transparency over the process. The process is ongoing and no one's saying it's not. What we're saying is, let's see how this all started. How did we get to this place? How wrong is this? Let's just add another layer to it. Let's find out how we got to this place, which in my opinion is so very wrong. And I will always stand by that. And I certainly hope that the community has faith in us in being able to do the right thing, trust us to make the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. So that's all councillors that have spoken. Unless a councillor's got a question, then I'll go back to, any councillor have any questions? I'll go back to Councillor Gough as the original mover of the motion, not the amendment. You have the right of reply on the amendment. So would you like to exercise your right of reply on the amendment?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
All right, thank you. So we have the amendment before us at the moment. The amendment is that the current motion that was in the committee papers be replaced by the amendment that Councillor Wright put forward, that the Macquarie River Master Plan North and South Precincts progress report provided by Manager Recreation Open Space be noted. So this is voting on the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? Declare that carried. So that amendment now becomes the motion. If any other councillors had any other amendments they'd like to put to that motion, now would be the time they'd bring that forward. Otherwise, we'll debate the motion, which is basically the same as the amendment, so there's not a lot of point in debating that, but we can still do that if you'd like. No other councillors had any other amendments they wanted to move to that? No? So any discussion or debate on the motion? That amendment now is the motion, so any discussion or debate on the motion, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of comments. My understanding is that we are only several weeks away from seeing a concept plan. So ideally before the end of September, I would hope, we are several weeks away from seeing a concept plan. Now, that concept plan itself is not a final draft, it is not a final plan, it is a concept type plan. So giving a bit of an idea of spatial components of Regan Park itself, and not actually a final draft. My understanding is that the previous motion referred to a report coming to a council meeting on the 22nd of September. I would think prior to that council meeting we would see a conceptual plan, and hence a significant waste of council time and resource to be able to provide a lot of information which potentially is going to come to light prior to that next meeting anyway. Community will have their chance to consult and discuss, and I think that I'd like to think this council has saved some time and resource for council, and I think the community will still have the outcome that they're looking for, and it is just a matter of time before we see that. So thank you.
Councillor Wright, just as you mentioned there, sorry, before I go to Councillor Ivey, I might just ask the CEO if he wants to give an update on some time frames. Ms. CEO, would you like to do that through Ms. Bassingthwaight?
Please.
Who's going?
Project Manager Ian McAllister.
Through to Mr. McAllister. Mr. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Ian, just for the people online, can you come round to the table with the microphone, please? Thank you.
So we're actually at the point where we're looking at having another councillor workshop on the 1st of September. At this particular workshop, we'll be sort of providing some spatial concepts for review by the elected members. From there, we then go out to the community. So probably by mid next week, we'll certainly be out back to community consultation. There's a various number of options, both for the south and north precincts, and there will be a survey also attached with that, which will enable the community to make comment and provide feedback, which will then further progress the plans.
Sorry, just to follow up that, through the CEO, do we have a time frame that a initial draft report will be brought to council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that conceptual spatial options then would inform with the consultation, then informs the draft master plan, which we're aiming to get to council by
November.
So the November ordinary council meeting, Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you. So just to clarify there, for my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. CEO, but so by the November council meeting, there'll be a draft conceptual master plan that will come to council, obviously, which is open to the public as well. But there's a few steps to go before we get to that point, Mr. McAllister.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you. So I just thought that was worth clarifying with some of your comments there, Councillor Wright. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, in speaking to the motion, I'd like to pick up and follow on from Mr. McAllister's comments and perhaps to relate them back to what Councillor Etheridge raised. Councillor Etheridge, you said, look, how did we get to this point? We need some transparency on how we got to this point. Well, I would think that, from my opinion, how we got to this point doesn't really matter. The fact is we're at this point where we've just had outlined a very transparent process where all the community will be able to make some inputs.
Sorry, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Ivey, sorry, just for the moment. Again, I asked the audience before to please refrain from making noise. The councillors are very respectful to the audience when the audience members were speaking, so I'd ask the audience to refrain from making any noises during any discussion here from councillors, please. Sorry, Councillor Ivey, resume.
And so, really, from my point of view, I can promise you that I will only be making a decision, I will only be taking into effect everything that is completely transparent. There'll be nothing behind anything that I'm aware of that other people aren't aware of. That will not happen. It will be a very transparent, open process where people can question, they can contribute. We can all, as a council, make a very informed, professional, sensible opinion. Do we know backdoor actions as far as I'm concerned?
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any further discussion? Councillor Etheridge, then Councillor Black.
In response to you, Councillor Ivey, I have never once said that there was any backdoor dealings, that there ever was any backdoor dealings, or there ever would be any backdoor dealings. I have never once said that. All I'm asking for is to find out how this was even allowed in the first place. That's what I'm asking. Let's find out how we got to this place. And I'm certainly not casting any aspersions to any councillors around this table. We will follow the process and we will do the right thing. And I have no doubt about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Black.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm a bit shocked, actually, but not surprised to a degree that the previous motion was amended and knocked off. We can't really now say that we're all for openness and transparency on every single issue, having voted to keep the previous council dealings and any dealings of this council with the proponent, St John's Junior Rugby League Football Club, effectively secret. Openness and transparency has virtually died on this issue here this evening. We heard from the Mayor last week that, or 2 weeks ago I should say, and then in a whole heap of media interviews, that he'd been accused of working secretly with St John's behind the scenes before he was elected for the 10 months prior to being elected. I never heard that from anyone, and I'm yet to find anyone that actually said that. I'm very interested. But this is just all about... I don't see that there would have been a waste of council time and resources to source all the information, but we can't, as a council, hide things and be secret and then claim to be transparent and open. Council has had many dealings with the proponents of footy fields at St John's, and that should be out there for all the community and all the councillors. There's a whole heap of stuff that's happened that I didn't know about. Having said that, the report did show a few other areas where football fields could go. I really encourage the community to engage with the process now, even if they don't have full confidence in the process, still at least engage with it. If people didn't have full confidence in it and think that stuff is being hidden, that may be understandable after what has just occurred, but I'd still encourage people to engage anyway and continue on with their activism. Activism in Australia is a right that all citizens have, and it shouldn't be condemned and shouldn't be tried to be stopped by elected officials. Like I said previously, if an elected official doesn't like a community group being active and organising and lobbying for a point of view, it's like a sailor not liking the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Goff, again, as the mover of the original motion, you have a right of reply if you wish to exercise that.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So we now have the amendment, which is now the motion. So all of those in favour of that? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to the next item, report of the Corporate Services Committee, CCL 22/206. Can I have someone move that, please? I actually chaired that committee for Councillor Mann last time, so anyone else can move that if they'd like. Councillor Ivey, thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wells is seconding that. Councillor Ivey, when you move that, can you save and accept CSC 22/38?
Yeah, and I recommend that the report of the Corporate Services Committee meeting held on the 11th of August 2022 be adopted, save and accept item CSC 22/38, which will be dealt with separately.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey, and Councillor Wells second that. So this is now again the report of the Corporate Services Committee with that particular item removed. So does anyone have any discussion or debate about the rest of the Corporate Services Committee meeting? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Could you also then move CSC 22/38, please, Councillor Ivey?
Yes.
Maybe a few more words.
CSC's 22/38.
Yes, that's the addition to the Destination Partnership Program fees and charges.
That the council adopt the Destination Partnership Program Level 1, full partnership fee of $660 for a period of up to 18 months.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Have someone second that, please. Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare a procurement significant interest as my business is part of the destination program, and I'll leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Thank you, councillors. We have that before us now. Any questions on the partnership program fees and charges or debate? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Could Mr McAllister, please, could you ask Councillor Goff to come back in? The next item is CCL 22/207, Skilled Employee Shortage. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to place the following notice of motion on the agenda for 25th of August 2022 ordinary meeting of council, that in light of the skilled employee shortage in our community, the CEO undertake a gap analysis on migrant support services available in the Dubbo Regional LGA and provide a subsequent report to the November 2022 ordinary meeting of council. The report shall include a comparison with other comparable regional cities and how migrant support services are delivered and what support is available. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Can I have someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Dear colleagues, I put this motion tonight because Dubbo has the largest population in the Orana region, with a population of 43,516 at June 2021. We know that the migrant population in Dubbo is gradually increasing, with the top of countries of origin being India and Nepal. At the same time, there is a loss of migrant population every year, with many migrants are leaving Dubbo for other cities. We know Regional Development Australia, Orana, and the Australian government reached an agreement on the Orana region designated area migration agreement DAMA, which was approved in April 2019. The DAMA program is a 5-year labour agreement between federal government and Regional Development Australia, Orana. Also, skilled migrants are coming to Dubbo through permanent and temporary skilled migration pathway. The question arises, why migrants are coming to settle in the Dubbo, and many do not choose to make their home. We are advised that there are a range of issues that impede a more permanent settlement here, and I recommend the council investigate the reason behind the skill and resources drained from our region. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Goff, then Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I support Councillor Chowdhury's motion. I'm in business myself and I'm very short-staffed, and if this is a report going to enable to keep skilled workers here, especially migrant workers, go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I also support and commend Councillor Chowdhury for this motion. It's very much topical at present, skilled migration into Australia, but even within Australia, as Councillor Chowdhury says, to attract people who may well be living here in other states or other areas of New South Wales and stay here is what we need. Now, this motion will enable Council to, as I understand it, really do a desktop analysis and look at what we offer compared to what we could offer, what we should be doing or what we could do in looking at what other councils are doing. If we can adopt some of those things, then if that report can come back and provide a basis for us then to make a decision later on some actions that we could undertake to implement this strategy that would enable us to retain people here, I fully support it for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Black.
Thank you. Yes, this is a good motion from Councillor Chowdhury. What it also does, though, it highlights the disastrous cutbacks to TAFE. So we're going to have people come to Dubbo, they'll hopefully stay, become part of the community, have kids here, raise their family, but how are we going to train those kids to then retain them within the city and the region in quality jobs? And one of those things we need is a fully functioning TAFE system. Successive state and federal governments have cut funding to TAFE. There's an opportunity here at some stage where we could advocate for better TAFE funding in our region. And I'm just worried about what's going to happen to the kids. We just can't keep bringing people from overseas all the time and say, right, here you are, but we actually need to train them further and also train up their kids when they have them here to become really part of the community and to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and also supporting Councillor Chowdhury's motion as well, and actually just following on from Councillor Black's comment there, I noticed the motion talked about skilled employees, and certainly talking to a lot of businesses around the region, both skilled and unskilled employees is where the issue lay, and I see some statistics coming out of the government just recently indicating that the unemployment rate has been the lowest on record now, and in fact the number of people who are searching for jobs, the number of people who are employed is less than the number of jobs that are actually available. There's a significant number of jobs out there and just not enough people to fill them. So the collaborative approach with other areas in our region, I'd applaud that. And no greater way to come up with an idea than plagiarise somebody else's. So I'm curious to see how that unfolds. I'm with all those areas having similar issues to us. So look forward to that report.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further questions or debate, councillors? No. Councillor Chowdhury, you have a right of reply if you'd like to exercise that.
No, I'm good, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. So I have that notice of motion from Councillor Chowdhury. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/208, recommendations of ICAC's Operation Whitney that are relevant to Council. Just do note that Dubbo Regional Council was not mentioned in Operation Whitney, but these are recommendations out of Operation Whitney that may be relevant to all councils across the state. So can I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Black, and seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/209, release of confidential report CW04012, the original acquisition of land for recreational purposes at Regan Park. Can I have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Ivey, you wish to speak to that?
Very briefly, Mr Mayor, just to say that I applaud the CEO for releasing this. It just provides some information to the community which it may not have, which again adds to that transparency process. So I very much agree with the releasing of that information.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other speakers on that? Councillor Black.
Thank you. As I've proved this evening, I'm all for openness and transparency, and making this report public is an excellent move. There was no reason to keep it confidential. I note the previous comments on the Mayor's Facebook page a couple of weeks ago alluding to some parts of this report, basically that passive and active recreation needs as per the strategic corporate plan. And I googled active and passive recreation, and interestingly from a government website, active recreation is leisure time physical activity undertaken outside of structured competition sport. It is a set of activities within a wider range of physical activity options that also include active living, active transport and sport. Also, I looked up public open space, and the Premier might be struggling a bit at the moment, but he considers himself to be on a winner with one of his major priorities being great public spaces and open space. I'll just quickly read that from no less than Premier Dominic Perrottet. Open spaces are important public spaces where people can relax, exercise, play and enjoy the natural environment. Walkable, accessible, well-designed open spaces are integral to the character and life of local towns and cities. They promote healthier lifestyles and provide relief from our built environment. Green open spaces help to mitigate climate change impacts, provide habitat for wildlife and improve environmental conditions such as air and water quality. We're investing in open space projects so everyone can enjoy green open spaces and creating more accessible, greener, greater outdoor spaces close to our homes. Releasing this report, public will see, if it does get released, that basically that was the intention of the council at the time, it looks like. And I downloaded a couple of the pictures off Facebook and had to blow them right up that were mentioned earlier. Articles that related to, in the paper, related to the purchase, council's purchase in 2004 of Regan Park, which I think a few comments here from, he was council's corporate development director, corporate development, Mark Riley, then went on to be general manager. I've heard the mayor speak very highly about Mr Riley numerous times over the last few years in his departure from Dubbo Council, and basically saying that the purchase of Regan Park completes a green belt of public space stretching all the way to North Dubbo, will be turned into recreational green, complete with landscaping and bike trails. So it goes on to talk about our Parks and Gardens division wanting to turn it into a Dubbo Centennial Park, and the corporate strategy. So once this gets released to the public, I think you'll see the intentions of that council, and given the comments of Mark Riley at the time, the director responsible for the purchase, Regan Park, very important part of Dubbo. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. And I'll just clarify one point there that you said that I'd quoted on Facebook from this report. I hadn't, because obviously it's a confidential report. The information that went to the public was part of that, but I also sat on council at the time in 2004, so I might have been referencing my memory of the events of that particular purchase, but I wouldn't have been quoting from the report, because until councillors potentially release it today, it's not actually a public document. So other speakers in relation to this particular item, councillors? No, there being none. Councillor Ivey, I don't think you need to exercise your right of reply, really.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
So I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. CCL 22/210, Audit Committee Update. Can someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Chowdhury, do you wish to speak to this?
I'm good, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/211, the 21-22 Delivery Program and Operational Plan Progress Report. Have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Goff. Any discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Black.
Yes, thank you. I note a few of the points there in the report. The Youth Koori Court was noted in the report, and the recent announcement about that will be fantastic when it comes to Dubbo. I also note the Regional Justice Reinvestment Strategy, and things are still progressing on that front, and there's a great opportunity there to really get things moving in the community on that. And also the 24-hour police station in Wellington, I noted in the report, there seems to be a need down in Wellington for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other speakers? Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have one question. In the report, they're saying 1.2% action are not been not been taken. So is that mean it's gonna be deferred and in future that action gonna be taken, or it just cancelled?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. I'll go through Mr CEO to Mr. Or to you.
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
So there's a proportion of the actions that have not just been deferred; they've been considered no longer relevant. Whereas, some others are still being progressed, and so by the 30th of June they hadn't been completed.
Thank you, Mr.
Any further, Councillor Chowdhury?
All good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Goff.
Just looking at safe and healthy communities, the Dubbo Crime Prevention Plan, does that also include Wellington?
It's a council crime prevention plan.
Right. Sorry. Okay. It just says Dubbo, so I'm just asking. I'm still very keen to support 24-hour police in Wellington. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. I think more correctly it would be the Dubbo Regional Council Crime Prevention Plan, just making sure that that's covering everywhere there, but I would typically expect things that refer to Dubbo as a council, refer to Dubbo and Wellington and Ballymore and Wongarbin and everywhere in between. Thank you, councillors. Any other questions or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/212, the advertising structure at Lot 1 DP 1276035 at 235 Cobra Street. Can someone move the report, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Black. Councillor Etheridge, do you wish to speak to that report or to that recommendation?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, look, if it's not permissible, it's not permissible. It's as simple as that. I don't know what is the thought behind we can do something other than act on state legislations and council policies. Once again, if it's not permissible, it's not permissible. Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Any other discussion or debate? Councillor Ivey? Sorry, Councillor Ivey, then Goff, then Wright.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I raised the same question that Councillor Etheridge raised. As I understand it, the state legislation says that it's not permissible, but under circumstances, maybe the council can vote otherwise. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I understand that under some circumstances, council would have some discretion. I look at this and think, really, another sign going down really Cobra Street is not really going to hurt anyone. To say that it's going to interfere with traffic or distract traffic, I must admit I don't really personally agree with that. I think a sign there that says if you want to go to a particular premises, then turn around this corner and go up there a little way because it's just up there, actually might help the traffic flow. So I don't see that that there is an issue there. Perhaps greater brains than mine dealing in that area know better. But I think that really that again, you drive around Cobra Street, if you're looking for a motel, you look at the signs where the motels are and you find it and you pull in. The signs are a pretty integral part of commercial development, and I don't think that another sign would really distract from that area. So from that point of view, I don't see that there's any great problem. Now, I gather there is a bit of a technicality in that if the proponent owned that bit of land, they could put it up where it is, but the fact is that they don't own it because it's been subdivided off. That is where the problem lies. Now, do we make a decision based on a technicality? I agree with you, Councillor Etheridge, if it can't be done, it can't be done. But I can't see that there's a problem with it being done. But anyway, I don't know whether that's confused the issue or simplified it. Perhaps, but I find it quite a dilemma. I think in principle there's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. But if it can't be done, it can't be done.
And Councillor Ivey, just give your thoughts there. If you want to move an amendment, you have that option to move an amendment. I'll keep going around to Councillor Goff and Councillor Wright while you contemplate that idea if you wish to do that. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the comments, the sign will make or break the business. In my 16 years of hospitality, I put coffee signs up everywhere and I still get asked if I make coffee. My customers don't read all signs. Personally, I think a Taco Bell coming to Dubbo, everyone's going to want to go anyway. Good old Google will have it on there. If we can't do it, we can't do it. But I don't think it's going to make or break the business.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And look, I echo Councillor Ivey's comments there with respect to there's just probably the difficulty in presiding over this one. On the surface, a sign advertising a nearby business made a bit of sense to me when that business is on a particular footprint of land that is owned by the same entity, but just happens to be a separate title, and subsequently advertised on a block of land which does not relate to the business being advertised. It is a point of technicality, as Councillor Etheridge has raised, it is a pretty strict item in those council regulations, and my understanding is that that is similar across the state, and I'm mindful of the fact that making a decision on this could potentially set a precedent and create a bit of an influx of other specific requests as well, or that could be similar to the one we're about to preside on. So it has been a difficult one for me, and I unfortunately as well, with Council's recommendation, would also consider the refusal as the right way to go. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further discussions, councillors? Councillor Ivey. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wells. My apologies. Councillor Wells.
Look, I'm agreeing with all the comments made so far. In particular, that when if the business was built, Taco Bell, I would agree with Councillor Goff that there would be so much hype in the community, and people would want to go there anyway, just like they do for the Carl's Junior new entity. So, unfortunately, it's not permissible, and I like Councillor Ivey, was a bit, on the fence about how do we support the business, but they're thinking about the hype around the other businesses in that area. They're quite busy at the moment, so I would see that a sign on that difference. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Ivey, were you contemplating?
Could I perhaps just ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Certainly.
Perhaps through the CEO. So I would like to get more information and have a little bit further opportunity to think about this issue. Is it possible for the staff or the staff to advise councillors further on this permissibility question and just what the implications would be?
So I'll answer the first part of that question. Sorry, Councillor, before I go to the CEO. So are you meaning now, in other words, a deferral of the meeting to have some further advice?
Depending on the answer to that, I would seek to propose an amendment to that motion.
So you've probably got two options. We could defer the actual item, so you could actually move an amendment to say let's defer it for a month, and then obviously up to the vote of council which way that goes. Or if you think you only need a little bit more information there, you could ask for an adjournment, and we could adjourn for, say, 10 minutes, and then you could have further discussion with the staff now. If you think there's only a couple of little bits that you need some extra information on, it's up to you whether it's just certain small bits of information or whether you'd really like a more in-depth overview, in which case you might want to ask, again, councillors for a deferral process for another month.
The latter, Mr. Mayor. I think that it's a complex issue, it's an involved issue, and I think it takes more than just a 10-minute adjournment for me to form an opinion. So yes, I would be seeking, if it's possible, that the motion read that the development application D 2022-264 advertising structure to 35 Copper Street, Dubbo, to be deferred to the next council meeting, and that that councillors be briefed upon relevant statutory requirements in relation to that advertising sign.
Sorry, Councillor Ivey. So that's an amendment. Obviously, you've moved there, so I'll just get a seconder to that amendment. You can speak to that amendment. So thank you, Councillor Etheridge. So, Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to that amendment there?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly to perhaps reiterate what I've already said, I am genuinely after more information. On face value, I don't really object to it, but if there are compelling reasons why this council would why this council should not go down that path, I'd like to be informed of that before having a debate on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Other discussion or debate, councillors, on the amendment? This is just the amendment to defer. We're not talking about the sign now. We're just talking about the amendment to defer this particular decision. Any other discussion or debate, councillors, on the amendment? No, Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I understand where the comments that Councillor Ivy's raised there. I've had a read over the report and had an opportunity to consult with the Director of Planning as well and ask some specific questions. We've also got a developer who is after a response and an answer, and so they can move forward as well with their development with some clear guidelines on where they sit. Look, at this stage, I probably wouldn't necessarily support Councillor Ivy's motion there. I'd be keen to make a decision on it myself. I've done sufficient homework and I'm comfortable with the decision that I'll make. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Other discussion or debate, councillors? No. The original mover was Councillor Etheridge. You actually have a right of reply to the amendment if you would like to exercise that right of reply, Councillor Etheridge. This is to the amendment.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think enough's been said.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the amendment before us at the moment, councillors. If we vote in favour of this, that will defer the decision for the next council meeting, for the September council meeting. If we defeat this, then we'll go back and keep discussing the actual application. So all those in favour of the amendment, the deferral? All those against? Declare it lost. Okay, thank you. Now, so the amendment stands, the amendment's lost, the motion stands as it is. So now back to the motion, if there's any discussion or debate in relation to the motion. Okay, there being nothing further, Councillor Etheridge, you also have a right of reply to anything that was discussed in relation to the original motion. Do you wish to exercise that right of reply?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. So now the recommendation that's sitting before us is that the development application be refused. So that's what we're voting on now. So I'll ask all those in favour of that. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Next item, CCL 22/213, the Dan Robinson Memorial signage, results of public exhibition. Can someone move that report, please? Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Black. Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Next item is CCL 22/214, Proposed Disability Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee. Can someone move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to that motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just really wanted to say that I think it's really important, and I'm glad to see that the motion's here, and that we can move forward with the Disability Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee. It's really important, as I said last time, that we consider all of the people in our community and that we have an appropriate space for people with mobility issues or disabilities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is one of the great examples that this current council listened to the community, and I would like to thank you all, my fellow councillors, bring that committee back to council, and I would like to request the community to please come and join this committee, make sure it's been fulfill the disability and the people has a disability, it can make sure join the committee so we can fulfill their all this fulfill their needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, this is a good move by Council. I'd just like to make the point that it's for people with all sorts of disabilities, not just access issues. But I hope that everyone gets behind it. I'm sure I've spoken to a lot of people who are keen to join the committee, and it should be a really good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Wells, you do have a right of reply if you wish to exercise that.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. So we have the motion before us, council. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/215, lease of Cafe and Cultural Centre to Wellington Local Aboriginal Land Council. Have someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare a pecuniary significant interest, and I will leave the room as my businesses are named in the marketing strategy as a competitive. And I'll leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Okay, councillors, we have that motion before us. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will support the motion, though in doing so I just will clarify, perhaps in my own mind, but for the councillors, that the motion is actually concerning the payment of a $1 per annum lease for a term of 12 months with a 2 by 1 year option. It's not actually about whether or not the lease should be given, it is about the terms of the lease. And so in supporting that, I've certainly got no problems with it being a peppercorn lease. I think it's a fledgling business. It'll be a little bit of let's see how it goes, and I think to give the operators that financial holiday, if you like, from the need to pay a lease is a good idea. It gives them the opportunity to really get it up and run with it, and hopefully it'll be a great successful business.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any further discussion? Councillor Black. Sorry, Councillor Black, I did make a mistake before. I should have given you the ability to speak to the motion initially. My apologies.
It's all right, Mr Mayor. Thank you. This should be a good opportunity for the Lands Council in Wellington to run a cafe where they might be able to train up some of the locals and help to get some skills in the community and give people job options going forward. So they've invested a fair bit of money in a disused council building in Cameron Park, and this is a really good opportunity for building the community in Wellington. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd like to echo Councillor Ivey and Councillor Black's comments. I think it's really fantastic that there's a significant support to the Wellington Local Aboriginal Lands Council and this partnership working together. It's not just a cafe, there'll be other opportunities there in terms of cultural presentations of certain items, but it's a great initiative. Yes, we'll be able to bring, there'll be opportunities to children or some youth, some training and get them skilled up and make them more applicable across the community. But I just think it's great to see the connection and the initiatives happening with council and the Local Aboriginal Lands Council of Wellington. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Further discussion or debate? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I too support this motion. I can see that there's been quite a significant investment of about $600,000 that was injected from state government money to improve that particular council building, and certainly it'll complement that the particular area as well as the Wiradjuri tourism experience or the proposed tourism experience. I've got a question, and I can see that there's a rather delicious-looking menu as I look at the clock a bit after 7 and I'm getting a bit peckish, but can I just ask a question with respect to that? I noticed there's some social media comments with respect to grease traps and other bits and pieces that may be required in this particular building. To address that, can I have a comment from council with respect to maybe addressing those types of concerns?
Certainly, Councillor Wright. I'll go through Mr CEO.
To Ms White, Manager of Community Services.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. At this point in time, there are no grease traps allowed in the kiosk/cafe building. The structure of the current building and being in line with required fire codes does not accept the installation of a grease trap at this stage.
Thank you, Ms White. So, Councillor Wright, do you have further follow-up on that or further commentary around that in terms of just maybe addressing some of those social media comments?
I do, and just to follow up on that through you, Mr Mayor, again, just to clarify, I would imagine the types of food being prepared would then necessarily be types of food that are prepared that don't necessarily need a grease trap, more reheat and serve as opposed to substantial cooking type methods, which I think is what the other community might have been asking.
Yes, you are correct.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Black, you do have a right of reply if you wish to exercise it.
No, thank you.
Right, yeah, thank you. I have that before council now. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Could Mr McAllister, thank you. Ask Councillor Goff to come back. Thank you, Councillor Goff. Next item, CCL 22/216, implementation of child safe standards policy. Someone move that, please. Thank you, Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Wells. Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 22/217, the Tony McGrain Place Dubbo Recreation Facility Development Contributions. Can I have a councillor move that, please? I'm not sure which councillor was going to move a recommendation on that one. Councillor, there was a... You've got that there, Councillor Black? There was a recommendation that someone was going to move. I'm just not sure where they ended up. Sorry, it's in... you've got it there, have you? Oh, thank you. And Councillor Black, right on cue.
Democracy in it.
Councillor Wells. Thank you, Councillor Wells. Would you like to move a motion, would you?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'd like to amend the motion to... Sorry, to move the motion.
Yeah, so this is... There's a couple of recommendations in our papers, so this would be moving an alternative motion rather than moving a motion then amending it. So this is moving an alternative.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So I'll be moving an alternative motion for CCL 22/2017, D21-569 for 8 Tony McGrain Place Dubbo Recreation Facility Indoor Development Contributions, ID 22/173. 1723, my apologies. That with regard to the development and contributions for the proposed Crown Recreation Facility indoor at 8 Tony McGrain Place, Dubbo, Council not require contributions under Section 7.11 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 for roads and stormwater drainage, but endorse the requirements for any water supply and sewage headworks to be levied payable prior to release of a compliance certificate under Section .307 of the Water Management Act 2000 and prior to the use of the development.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Can I have someone second that, please? Thank you, Councillor Showery. Councillor Wells, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, my social conscience talks to me about this type of work that we do in community and what we do with youth in that type of environment. It's really important that we as a community invest in our youth and do things with our youth so that we can, I think, continue to ensure that the social welfare of our young people in our community has access to suitable programs and activities in these type of venues. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Other discussion and debate, councillors, on this item? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would support this motion. I think it's good that Council is foregoing some revenue that it could otherwise attract or demand. The fact that we are not foregoing all the Council contributions means that there is some contribution being made by the proponent. But I'd like to consider that, or like to be considered, that the foregoing of the contribution that Council would otherwise demand would be sort of an example of how we are partnering in that project, that we're actually contributing to it in a small way, admittedly, but still in a very monetary way, that we like to think that we are partnering with that and by doing that supporting the whole concept.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, this will be a good development to see the sporting hub, the sporting precinct kicking off and really getting going. I know that there's going to be a squash court proposed for the new recreational facility indoor. It'd also be really good in that area in later stages to see like a 4 or 6 court complex for squash. I know that there's not really many opportunities for squash in Dubbo anymore, considering there's only, I think, 2 courts at the RSL club, so that might be something for the proponents to keep in mind at a later date, but Council is contributing to this and it'll be really good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any further items, councillors? It is noted as well that if this recommendation does go through, that the proponent does have the ability to make application to potentially reduce that fee if they can provide data to support that application. So even though there are some figures in our report that do actually nominate specific figures in there, again, if it goes through, they can make those applications, and I'm sure they're familiar with that process if that occurs. Other discussion or debate, councillors? No. Councillor Wells, do you wish to exercise your right of reply?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. I've got the recommendation there in front of us. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. The next item is comments. I'll go around from the left today. So, Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've just got I wanted to comment on a couple of things that I've been involved in the Dubbo community over the last few months. And it pertains to the Youth Koori Court and the Children's Court that will be opening up in Dubbo early next year. There's been a lot of work with Magistrate Duncan and a lot of work with Magistrate Skinner and watching what they've been doing, working with consulting with the community around what's the appropriate way to have the Youth Koori Court, and I've had the opportunity to be involved in those discussions and that planning and how it's more appropriate for the young Aboriginal children going through the Youth Koori Court process. And I just wanted to do a shout out basically to the magistrates who have been involved in that and pulling really respectfully people together to ensure that we're doing the right thing for the young people who unfortunately will become before the justice system. But yeah, just a shout out to them. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just two things, actually. Firstly, look to my fellow councillors. There's times where we enter a meeting and we all have a different ideas, and we'll disagree and agree to disagree and walk out of this room. And I just want to thank and congratulate all the councillors just with the respectful way that we can have those sort of conversations. So thank you all for that. The other one, and I know a number of the councillors already made some commentary with respect to the Mayor's calendar of events that he partook in the month of July. And one of those, I noticed, I think it was the 20th of July, was the launch of Mullet Fest. I guess where I'm leading to there, Mr Mayor, you've now got 12 months in which to grow some locks and enter that particular event, and I'm sure all councillors will be looking forward to the outcome of that in 12 months' time. All the very best.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just highlighted a program, event is coming soon in Dubbo. The Cross Cultural Carnival happening in 3rd of September. At Victoria Oval 2, and I'll request all the community to come and join and celebrate the multiculturalism in Dubbo. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Etheridge.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to do a shout out to our facilities here in Dubbo. I just popped into the National Robobank Ram and Show sale. It was huge. I was actually quite shocked how well it was all set up, and yeah, if we can attract more events like that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Black.
Thank you. Once again, we're going over a month and we don't have any announcement on a site for the Alcohol and Other Drug Rehab Centre. This might be being time for an election campaign announcement, I'm not sure, but it is costing lives, all the continuing delays. I also note the Fixing Local Roads and Fixing Country Roads state grant funding rounds are currently open. As an amalgamated council struggling with basically funds to fix roads and do a whole heap of other things, and being one of the 80% of forcibly amalgamated councils not to meet important benchmarks, people can decide for themselves if we need a heap of funding from the state government, who are the ones that amalgamated us, to bring all of our infrastructure up to date, and we do. So we need amazing amounts of money from both of these grant projects, Fixing Local Roads and Fixing Country Roads. My phone's running hot all the time. I had a farmer from down at Arthurville ring me this morning at about 7 o'clock talking about his road and crossing. So we really need some funding there. In the same vein, it was interesting to read last night a media release about from the state government where they're going to de-amalgamate Cootamundra and Gundagai Shire councils and pay the full costs. I think there'll be more of those coming. If the state government want to ensure that these council amalgamations are a success, then they can't just get away with offering $5,000 novelty cheques to pony clubs before the next election. We need some real money, and we need it deposited into our council bank account prior to the election, not re-elect us and we'll give you a promise. So Wellington infrastructure, roads, sewer, really needs a lot of money from the state put towards it. Last couple of points, I met with the member for Maitland, the Labor Shadow Minister for Regional Transport and Roads, Jenny Aitchison, during the week to do with the roads funding, what we need for a bypass, talked about River Street Bridge and whether that was a good thing or not. So I'm trying to get the message out there to people in government and in the Parliament that we need more funding for Dubbo and Wellington, and we really need that funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, just probably following on a little bit or picking up on a couple of points that Councillor Black made. On Tuesday, myself and Councillor Goff and Councillor Chowdhury and the Mayor and the CEO and the Director of Infrastructure attended a meeting with the Gollan, in the Gollan community. Again, no surprises, but complaining and talking about the condition of their roads. And it really did highlight how much that roads and infrastructure mean to local communities. And yes, look, that's the Gollan community, and they're talking about 3 or 4 roads, and in particular a causeway that was causing problems. But that you can replicate that problem right throughout our whole region, and it does highlight the need for real action to be taken in improving that infrastructure, because it is so vitally important to not only the locals but the through traffic and the economy of the region. And I again agree with Councillor Black's comments that we need to pursue as heartily as we can extra funding from the state government to try to lift the standard of some of our infrastructure. I don't envy staff at all when you go out there and everyone is complaining about their section of road and their pothole and their thing that needs to be done. Everyone would love to wave a magic wand and have it happen, but again, it's a matter of priorities, and it's a matter of allocation of funds and trying to increase that availability of funds, and it's no easy task. But again, I think just sitting back at the meeting, I thought, you know what, really it was very good that a group of concerned ratepayers there of 20 or 30 people can actually attract 4 councillors and 2 senior staff out there and listen to their problems, and I thought that was terrific. It didn't solve any of the problems, but it does make council and councillors aware of what the issues are, and I think that is to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Just a few things from my perspective. It was very exciting to see an announcement with the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre, $5 million. Councillor Wells is up there as well, $5 million additional money for that. So I'm pretty excited by what we'll see with that tourism and cultural centre there up at Elizabeth Park, a very exciting area, an area that has been master planned for over 20 years up there, but to see that finally come to fruition probably in a year and a half's time, I think will be very exciting, and I think we've got just about enough money to actually do that and do it justice now. Maybe not everything on there, but do it justice, so that'll be pretty exciting. Congratulations to Matt Wright, Councillor Matt Wright, and the CEO Murray Wood, who were down at the sleep out last Friday night at the jail. I was shattered, the fact that I was away that night, so I couldn't join them on that particular night. But between them, they raised about $1,700 between the two of them. So well done for that sleep out and putting up with those beautiful cold conditions. And the ghosts, there are 8 ghosts, of course, that do wander around the jail, so they had to put up with the ghosts there as well. So well done to those two. We had the Dream launch during the month, which was fantastic to see the Dream launch back again, or Dream back again. They've obviously had a couple of years where they haven't been able to do too much because of COVID, but obviously back again. The state government's putting up about 30,000, 50,000 I think they might have put up for that. Several thousand, several tens of thousands of dollars they put up for Dream, and again that'll be another great event as that goes forward. The last 2 things I'd mention, one is that at the last council meeting, Councillor Wright did mention that he was putting out the challenge to everyone to run the half marathon and the Stampede on Sunday. So provided Councillor Wright runs the half marathon on Sunday, I'm happy to grow a mullet for next year. So. And very last one is happy birthday to Councillor Goff, who turns 23 again, she tells me, for the 13th time this year. and Councillor Ivey turns 23 for the umpteenth time on Monday. So Righto, thank you, councillors. Now, under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next items, being CCL 22/219, 220 and 221, have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of council. Could I have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential items? Thank you, Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Before we vote on that, we've had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the public in the public gallery have any comments to make regarding the proposal to adhere to the items in a closed session of council? And if you have a reason you would like to not hear it in closed session, please come forward to the microphone now. No? Okay, thank you. So, councillors, we've got a motion there to move us into confidential. Discussion or debate on that particular motion? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. The streaming will now be turned off. Any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on these matters, with the resolutions to be made public. Thank you to the public for watching the streaming, and thank you to the public for coming into our public gallery. The council has now returned to open session at 7:47 p.m. Welcome back. I will now ask the Manager, Governance and Internal Control to read the resolutions from the confidential sessions.
Item CCO 22/219, Transport for New South Wales acquisition of land from Council for the River Street Bridge project. 1. That Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the contract for sale of Lot 100 on DP 261729 and Lot 4 on DP 1114367 to the Crown in right of the State of New South Wales, represented by Transport for New South Wales, provided that the purchase price of Lot 100 on DP 261729 and Lot 4 on DP 1114367 is in accordance with Transport for New South Wales offer of compensation letter dated 19 May 2022, as noted in this report. 2. That Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the contract for sale of part of the following properties to the Crown in right of the State of New South Wales, represented by Transport for New South Wales. A. Lot 1 on DP 1039425. B. Lot 1 on DP 250606. And C. Lot 2 on DP 250606. Provided that the purchase price is in accordance with Transport for New South Wales offer of compensation letter dated 19 May 2022, as noted in this report. 3. That Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate and finalise the lease for part of Lot 2 on DP 250606 for the rental amount as proposed in Transport for New South Wales offer of compensation letter dated 19 May 2022 for a maximum term of 3 years. 4. That all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to Council. 5. That all necessary documentation be executed under the Common Seal of Council. Item CCL 22/220, review of lot type and pricing relating to the sale of land in Stage 5 Release 2 at Keswick Estate. 1. That Council approve the sale of 52 unregistered lots within Stage 5 Release 2 of Keswick Estate in accordance with the reserve price as identified within this report. 2. That a contract for sale of any of the lots be signed A. under the Common Seal of Council or B. under special delegation by the Chief Executive Officer or Director, Organisational Performance as resolved by Council on 28 July 2022. 3. That all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to Council. CCL 22/221, 3D printing of Lions Park West Amenity Block. 1. That due to the limited number of companies currently undertaking 3D printing of buildings, Council undertakes a call for tenders to identify a suitably qualified and experienced contractor for the replacement of the Lions Park West Amenity Block. 2. That all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to Council.
Thank you, Ms Rouse. There are no further items for consideration at the ordinary council meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 7:50 p.m. Web streaming has now been completed. I thank you for your attendance.